orange layer, the next layer up, and I'm going to start tracing the dog. I'll start here. We'll do the tail. I'm going to be pretty careful, but not too awful. You know, I won't spend as much time. Might even hit pause, but we'll go ahead and cut this thing out. And so I'm going to try to stay on the right on the dog and not go off it or get too close to the edge. And so this is going to represent the very outside border of the dog. We're going to do some other curves that do different parts of the dog as far as that goes. But this is the very outside border that we're doing. We'll go around the snout there. Alright, so then as we come down around here, I'm going to have to deal with the fact that the dog has no feet, unless his name is Stubby. So when we come down here, we'll just do our best guess as to what perhaps a foot would look like and how big it would be. So there's that, and then it might come over here and do this, and then come back up. Let's see how we did. Yeah, that'll work. Oh, you can hit U and enter for undo. U and enter. U enter. So we'll come over here, and then we'll come across this way and do its back leg right there. And then coming up, I decide I'm going to make this one a male. And so I'm just going to come out around now. Obviously, if the whatever the owner wants for male versus female. But this will just make it easier and might look better on a ring. Less visual information, if you will. So then we'll come out, come over. Come around here. And again, we're going outside completely. Alright, great. There we go. And the next thing I want to do is add some visual interest to the different layers. So I want this leg to look like it's in the back, and this leg to look like it's in the back, because it is. And so in order to do that, we'll take this curve, go up a layer, and we'll go to offset. And we'll offset this just a little bit, just a really small amount, maybe even less than this, like so. Oh, that was too small. We'll undo that. Let's try again. Offset. Sometimes when you get this too close, it doesn't like it. Yeah, offset. You know, I've been having trouble with offset on this project. So whenever I have trouble with offset doing its business, I rebuild. And that's the real drag because, let's see how many points we have to do. 300 preview. Alright, well, that should do. So, there's my rebuild. Now let's do offset. Okay, so in messing around with this, let's go back to offset. And like I said, I'm having some trouble getting this, and it probably has to do with my tolerance. Through point corner, smooth. Let's do that. And then, you know, we can do T through point and sit here and watch this thing disappear right there. So being able to see it, there we go, and that's good enough. What I wanted was a curve right next to that curve, and there it is. So there's that. Now let's turn this back on. Okay, so the whole point here is that I want this for the next layer up. The orange is going to be all the back layer. So let's go ahead and working on this layer. We're going to come over here, and this is going to come up along here. Alright, and it's going to go up into here like that. And what else we got? This back leg. And so this being the foreground, I'm going to come up along here and we'll do that. And that's really about it. I'm going to do something different for the ear. Alright. So let's see. This, we'll do the tail. Alright, so on the next layer up, purple, we'll do the tail. And we'll draw that. Well, let's do this. Alright, so now we will select all this, turn off the dog, and do trim. And we'll trim out this back area. There we go. Yep, so that's back. And this one. There we go. So now that's the front layer. Let's go enter and then join. And what do we got? One open curve. Well, that's exciting. I don't even know where that's open. Aha. Rookie. Join. Let's see what it is now. We'll go over here and click what is this, and it is an open NURBS curve still. Wow, I just about give up. Only been using Matrix for 400 years. I can't draw a closed curve. So it's good this happened. If you want to find the open place, you go over to curve and down to the second row, mark curve start. And then in this one right next to it is mark curve end. And there's still the problem right there. The two dots are virtually on top of each other, and it's still open right there. So my fix for that is to draw a circle like so. And we'll select this and say trim that. Then I use blend, and I blend this to this, and we join that. One closed curve. Wow, earned a curve. Alright, so there's my dog there. Now let's come back to the tail, and again I want to use the purple for this, so we'll go ahead and trace this so the tail comes down along here, and I'm just going to have it come down this way. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to make an offset of this curve on purple. Let's see. Offset, if I can find it. There we go. Now the reason I'm making these offset is because I don't want the curves to hit each other. I always like to do this when I do matrix art because you can get weird results. Let's hit join and see what we get. One close curve, good. Yay. I feel like I should celebrate the curve. But I don't like these to overlap each other because when you add together the height of this surface and then the height of this surface, you can get these tall spikes on the bitmap surface. And if they're not overlapping each other, then they don't affect each other in any adverse way. So there you go. Now we'll go up to gray, and let's go ahead and do the ear. So the ear's going to come down around here and come up. Yeah, I don't know if I want it to be that much. We'll go around this way. There we go. So this one is going to get split with the split with a point back here. And of course we'll blend. Join. Alright, so there's what we got. Now, let's go ahead and throw that in a job bag. Boom. Okay, so we got matrix art, and we'll come over here and we'll grab all these curves and drop them in the box. There we go. And there's what we get. Now, first thing we want to do is I'm going to take my resolution up to about 20 and hit update resolution. And anytime you do this, anytime you change this, you update resolution and you can sit and watch it change. Alright. Okay, so there's what we have so far, and everything's really tall. So, let's come back to, now, matrix art, you'd have to really normally be very careful if you scroll the menu up past the top, because now without the title bar, how would we scroll this back down? But matrix art, anywhere there's an open area, anywhere here and here, you can right click and scroll. So we made this so that you can very easily scroll it. Now don't scroll it off, completely, or we're in trouble. Okay, so let's go down to number 1, and I'm going to load profile and make it flat. And then I'm going to take that and slide this to 0. And if we do that, then we don't get any yellow at this stage of the game. So the yellow was just so that my bitmap is going to stay the correct proportion. And I'll show you that when I add the bitmap back. As a matter of fact, we do not need currently this layer on because it's not really doing anything except maybe confusing us. Okay, so there yellow is flat and it's 0. Now let's come over to orange, and I have modified this. Now here's what I like to do. I like to come over and load where is it? Dome 1. I load Dome 1, and then I grab this point and move it over here. Grab this point, making sure to keep it in the viewport. And then I grab this one, and if you watch, well, you can't see it on the orange one so much. But there we go. I want this kind of quick dome and then over. And that kind of flattens it out. Okay, and we'll make this one, let's say, 0.5 millimeters high for the orange. coming over to the next layer, I've got the same profile made. That was made by loading Dome 1 and then moving the points and flattening it out again. And that one I'll make about 0.5 as well. So now that's a millimeter or half a millimeter high, and so is the background. Okay. Now we'll come over to the tail, and again I have the same methodology going. And now the difference on this one is this. And let's switch this out. Okay, by default this is going to be this high. Some of these are changed because I practiced before I did my movie, which makes for a better movie. This one is building off the other layers, so as it hits the back layer it goes 0.6 over the layer below it, or this layer, or actually the orange layer, sorry. So over the orange layer, if we click this once and then twice, and then over this layer once and twice, now what it's doing is that is building up from the grid. So however high this goes, then up comes the tail. And what that does for me is that gives me the ability to just show a hint of that tail and not have it built up from the others. It's coming up from the ground up. Alright, now another way you could do it is to take this layer and go back to build and take it down to about 0.3 or so. That's too tall. There, we can do that too, either way. And then the ear, lastly, is got the same rounded idea. And we'll make it about 1/4 of a millimeter high, and maybe a little less, 0.21. There we go. Alright, now on purpose I have kept turned off, so I don't need a back of this because this is going to be milled and it's going to be floating over a surface, and so I don't need that. Okay, having done this, let's go back to picture, and I want to make sure that my current layer is the yellow one, so that all this bitmap ripples up through all the different layers. If I put it on this layer, it would only apply to this and not the background. Okay. And so that's the reason for my yellow, is because now the bitmap will match this and fill in the mesh with only the dog. I'll show you. So we go here and we go down, and there's the bulldog or pit bull. Now this is the grass right here. This is a big area of grass, and what we want to do is fill shape. And when we fill shape, then it does just that. Alright, now the bitmap height, as we go real low, there's 0.4. You can see it's exactly that bitmap, but that's not enough to even mill, so we'll come up to about 0.26, and then I want to come over to effects and come over to blur amount for the picture and do low. You can do medium or you could do high, but that's really getting rid of a lot of the detail. I just want to soften it a bit. And so now we come back, we're at 0.26, we have this going on and this going on. And there we go. So at this point, with capped off, let's create the mesh. There it is. We'll put this on a different layer. And we'll shade it with plastic. There it is. So the next thing I want to do though is trim this out so I don't have this grass in the background. And to do that, what I want to do is turn this off right there, and let's go to solid, and we'll extrude this straight up like so. And I'm expecting this to fail, which would be good. So we select this, and then I always type this. It's mesh and then split. Mesh split. Enter. Select the cutting object here. Enter. And how do we do? Hey, it failed. I can't believe it. Alright. So what I do when these mesh splits fail is I click on the mesh and I go to utilities, and right here is mesh reduce. Okay. We have 77,700 polygons on the mesh. So let's go to 77 even 1 2 3, or that's by 0.9%. Okay, so that reduced the mesh and didn't change it much at all. So now we go mesh split. Oh, not sphere. Mesh split. And there's my cutting object right there. And let's see how long that takes now. So it takes a lot longer. That's actually a good sign. And our mesh is split. So we delete that, delete the cutter, and there's my dog. So it's got some texture in it still, just so that we know it's a dog. He's got his tail right there. And it's kind of fun because, you know, there's a little indent where his eye would be, and there's his nose, and that would mill out great. So not worrying about the back. Here's what happens on the mesh. If a mesh has a back to it, and we can go back to Matrix Art. Oh, right there. And let's move this over here. And if you hit this button, it'll bring that back. And we'll hit capped and hit create mesh. Alright, so now this has a back to it. Let's shade that. There we go. So check out what happens when you rebuild mesh. If we reduce mesh by let's say by 10%, the back gets really weird because it picks one point and it pulls the points to it. So that's evil. So there's our dog.